Hello viewers, welcome to a quick last minute stream. I've just got online, haven't played any testing of this, and we had a quick go on the other day, but I can't remember even my lap times or gears or anything. But if we can just jump in, we've got 3 minutes to try getting in one lap and remember our gears. So we're going to try and get everything together, and then I'll read your chat as soon as I get to as soon as it jumps to the race. So that's first through there, wasn't it? I think we'll stick with some I can't remember if we were using traction or not. This is pretty last minute. Can't remember well. I needed to do more practice, but I haven't done any, so this is quite last minute, but I thought I'd jump on, do a last minute stream. And we won't have time to do 2 laps, will we? Now I know traction will slow me, but hello to anyone joining us tonight. I'll look at the chat in just a moment. I've literally just got on here to do this, and then I'll have a look. 1 minute. See how much more data we can get in 1 minute. We're a long way off here. Not terrible. Terrible, actually. Okay, matchmaking will begin shortly. So we're not where we need to be. We're probably about a second a lap off of where we need to be at least. Which shows that if I have more practice time, I'd be able to get up there. Right, okay, let's get this chat set up so I can see you guys. And apologies for this last minute set the chat up, but I just realised, hang on, I've got a minute to learn the track. So hello guys, if you can say hello again, because it's not come up unfortunately. It's coming up on the screen, but it's not coming up for me. Okay, so as we can see there, we have quite a challenging lobby again. You know, when it's all A and S races, it's always really hard. You know, these are all good drivers, so let's just get ourselves comfortable. check there's no different tyres, it's just mediums. What's the race details? 12 times. Hmm. 12 times. How many laps? 9 laps. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see. There may not even be a pit stop in this. Hello, Olivier. Hello, Darren. Hello from Scotland. Hello. So this is last minute. Like literally, I haven't had time to properly practice or nothing. I'm really nervous about this. But if I finish anywhere higher than 14th, it'll be an improvement. So the goal today is really, if I finish 10th, I'll be satisfied with that. Right. I've got to chill. I've got to stress here. I'm not prepared for this at all. I feel quite nervous. I think we're gonna struggle badly here, viewers. Got a bad feeling. Got a bad feeling about this drop. Right, let's go. Let's just do the best we can. Oh well, somebody off. Let's just let everybody go by. You know, let's just let everybody go by. Okay, so we're just over revving the car and just trying to burn off some fuel, basically. Don't know quite what he's doing. Probably doing the same thing as me. we go. So we're after a 201 for me. I'll be happy with a 201. And we've got traffic. Thank you, traffic. I would flash if I knew how. Wow. I was using the runoff there. I didn't need to. I thought I would to reduce wheel turn, but that ruined my lap. We lost quite a bit of time there, so we're going to pit again now and see how it goes again with the second set of tyres. Not a good lap for me, sadly. The good news is we've got a lot more in the tank than that, so the tyres don't work well for more than one lap of quali. So if only I'd done that on my qualifying lap, might have been much quicker. I'll be right onto your chat, guys, just after this quali. I hope I can make it round in time, actually. If I don't, it'll be an awful start. We'll have to have a quicker out lap this time. The first out lap was very slow, wasn't it? But everyone was going a bit slow on the out lap, I think, and it just created a bit of a traffic jam. Okay. Right, let's try again now. Oh, Shaheen, how's it go? TCS2? No, I'm not putting on 0 because there's not enough time. There's no time to practice, and there's too much risk of 0. I'd rather be half a second a lap quicker, but a bit more consistency with it on TCS on 2. We're not after speed, we're after consistency here now because there's not enough practice. I found just the other day when I was driving it with TCS off that occasionally the car could surprise me in a way that wasn't good, that I didn't have time to fully learn and understand why the car was spinning or what speed it needed to be at to prevent that kind of thing. The good news is we've got time to get round for one lap, so Just don't want to take too long now though. We want to just get on with it now, and then we'll just go for it because we haven't got time to muck around. Logic, have I watched Endgame? I have seen Endgame. Yep, I went out to see it on Thursday morning. I don't hang around on things like that. I watch those things first thing in the morning. Game of Thrones, big films at the cinema, whatever it is. And in that way, because I work on the internet, obviously, there's always a million spoilers everywhere. Okay. We're all here for our second run now. We're all a bit close, really. Why does nobody use cockpit view in GT games? Yes, I'll explain that another time, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not usable in GT. Okay, well done, mate. What's the point in that, honestly? Okay, come on now. Hopefully no one will block us. Now we've got a car blocking us. This guy's going to block us, isn't he? Damn. Damn, damn, damn. That first run was a bit of a mess for me. This one's a much better lap, and I've got somebody blocking me. No, not much quicker. Oh, damn. Wasn't able to do a proper lap time. That's a bit frustrating. Ah, oh well. It is what it is. Spoiler-free impression. I liked it. Endgame was a film that brought a lot of the Avengers films together. And if you haven't seen it yet, go and see it if you like the Avengers films. I think personally I liked Infinity War more than Endgame for different reasons, but yeah, it's a very different paced film to the first one, a bit like Kill Bill 1 to Kill Bill 2 in that sense. They're very different films. But yeah, I think it tied it all together well. You can tell, that they wrote the ending and the beginning of the end of the story, and they tied it all together nicely in that sense. It is quite tense, actually, Star Fox. I had a quick few laps, and I've got on here, and I'm thinking, what gear, what braking? Oh, I'm not comfortable at all. I'd need to do another bunch of laps, and that's why I'm all the way down the back. And look at it, there wasn't much in it really between us, But my best time was a 2 minutes .3, wasn't it? So 6th place I'd have been with my best lap so far. So it's a close field, spread over. A couple of seconds. It's not much, basically, there's a lot of good drivers in here, and anyone can win this. For me today, my objective is to finish 9th or 10th. If I can do 9th or 10th, that'll be all right. But no, I enjoyed it. I enjoy the old Avengers films. So yes, cockpit. Yeah, Danny. Yeah, you can't move the hands. You can't zoom into the cockpit, and you don't have a rear view mirror because obviously it's out of view. So it's why I don't use a cockpit. Basically, I like to zoom in on the dash. Can't do it. So here we are, Saturday night. We've had F1 quali, which was drama. Hi CZ. Hi Brian. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Racing. If you've seen any of my races anyway, you'll know I normally start near the back. It's something I've got to get used to. Hi Tom. Who will win at Baku tomorrow? I'll have a think about it and come back to you. But you've got to say that the Mercedes are both strong. I don't all this rubbish about old Ferrari are the quickest and then Mercedes still on 1-2. Dun 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 dun. I'll talk about that after Logic. I'm going to think about the race for a second. Get into the vibe now. Now, this is a bad point here. Where's it going to start me? I'm a bit worried it's going to start me on the chicane. So 17th is, I was hoping to start the race around 12th. So it's a bit frustrating. And we just got caught up on with a couple of people on my main lap, and I could have done better. I feel tense. Hi Marek, thank you. Hi Didas. Do my best, guys. I love how far down the track I am. I'm like all the way round the corner basically. It's going to start me right on the chicane, isn't it? I know it. I'm going to take a look at the power consumption because I just want to see what the fuel situation is really. That's the only thing that could catch people out is fuel. Does anyone know if there's a pit stop? Has anyone watched any of these races tonight? Can give me any info on... Because all these guys will probably have run an earlier race. And... Oh, I won't be getting a win today, Darren, but my objective today is to finish around 10th in this race, bearing in mind the lack of practice. I'm going to have to keep an eye on fuel. Anyone got any info, has watched other races, let me know, and tyres and fuel and stuff like that. Here we go then. Oh, I got a bad start, didn't I? This guy's right on me. Bad start. That's not what I needed. We're just going to have to play it by ear, guys. The car's behaving very differently on the extra fuel. Nobody's crashed off. What's going on? 94% fuel. Just going to go down a little bit to number 2 for a second. %. We're going to drop. I think there's going to be a fuel stop then. Looking at that fuel dropping, we're going to stay in number 3. See how we get on, because see, everyone else here, a lot of them have been running the other 2 races, so they already know the strategy, whereas don't know the strategy, and even though I can drive quicker on the higher fuel setting, if I can just hang in there with number 3 fuel setting, let's see what happens. I'm not certain on the fuel. So I'm just gonna, if I've got it completely wrong, I've got it completely wrong, but it's have to wait and see. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere in this race because I've just not got the practice. I'm not pushing to the limit here at all, you know. Nobody's making mistakes, nobody's gone off. It's been a very sensible race so far, really, and unless people run low on fuel or tyres run out, there's really nothing I can do. I'm the one who's made a mistake there. Trying to push too hard with the fuel. %. So we'll try going back to 1 again now. It was always a risk tonight coming on here with no practice. You know, you just, it's a bit frustrating, you know. Oh, right, okay. So I can't see the laps remaining setting very well. It's behind my wheel. I didn't see that there. Oh well. See, that's what happens when you just don't know the strategy. You know, I've ruined my race now by pushing hard on a 3 fuel setting. Okay. Well, this is my worst race ever, sadly, but it doesn't matter. We'll just put in some time trial laps now. Try and learn how to drive the circuit. What that means now is, because I've got too much fuel, it means I'll have a heavy car and that'll just damage the tyres. So I've got 4.2 seconds to the car in front. We'll see if we can close up on him. It's just not enough time in this race to... halfway in the race already. I mean, just not a very long race, is it? That's the problem. Somebody's pitting for tyres and fuel, maybe. We're not taking much out of the cars in front at the moment. Oh, well, sorry viewers, it's a bit of a dull race today. What can I say? It's a wrong strategy understanding there for fuel. I understood that there wasn't enough fuel for the race, and so I saved fuel, let the cars past, not knowing that we weren't going to stop and there wasn't going to be a fuel change. Quite a few people are stopping, it seems. I guess these tyres won't last to the end of the race. So these guys are going to pull away from me on their fresh tyres now for sure. We'll just see if we can keep as close to them as possible, but I don't think we'll be able to. And they are gone, aren't they? So we're not going to stop. We're going to just try and run these tyres to the end of the race. They are going to fall apart, but there's not much we can do about that at this stage. They'll be almost undrivable on the final lap for sure. Tyres are gone. Tyres are really gone. But there's just no point in stopping at this stage. We're going to end up last anyway, so I think this is the only way we're 3.5 seconds behind the car in front. We're just not going to gain that. So lap 7. I can't believe that we've not had a single car crash out. It's amazing. So my mistake, pushing too hard on a low fuel engine, has really cost me in this race, combined with a poor quali. But worth a try, wasn't it? Worth a try. It was worth a try, even though I've not had the practice to compete. That's the problem when you get yourself up to a higher rank. If you don't have a stack of practice, you just can't. Tyres are going badly, aren't they? This guy's going to drive right past me on the straight. I've got a safety rating down for just existing. She can't turn the car in there. That was just pure drift of the car then, that the tyres are just so gone. Okay. If at first you don't succeed, barge people out of the way. This guy will take me as well now. He's going to drive around me, isn't he, with his fresh tyres. There's nothing I can do. And I think that was another little part he gave somebody there as well. I swear if I did that it would be a penalty every time. I think this guy's not stopped either. Damn tyres. Not much I can do about it, sadly. Barely keep it on the road, really. On the bright side, on the bright side, I finished ahead of where I started, so that's something. If I hadn't done the fuel saving, I would certainly have been a few seconds up the road, and I would probably have gained a few more places, but very difficult. Tyres have really gone though this last sort of lap or so. Got to actually brake now. Oh, I just can't keep with him anyway. No, I couldn't gain on him even though he had that deficit. It's gone. That was hard going, guys. That was hard going. Oh well, disappointing. I had no practice before the race, and I was thinking, really, you know what? I've not done any. I need to do like 10-20 laps just to get into it. So disappointing. Disappointing finish there. It's been a really disappointing FIA competition. We went up one place. At least that's something. I've never actually finished below where I've started. Disappointing. If I ran it again now, I've learned a lot in that race, obviously. I learned a lot about tyres as well. The wrong tyres for that strategy. Which was a bit of a shame. But there you go. That's racing, sadly. It's racing. It's all a bit disappointing. Late night, Saturday night driving. I thought I'd jump on here because I thought, well, why not jump on? And what else have we got on here anyway now? We've got this, haven't we, to consider as well. That's going to be an interesting one. I did McLaren before and it didn't do. That's right, Star Fox. Well, I had to have a go, didn't I? I mean, it could have gone better than that. You know, I mean, but you know, like you say, it's frustrating because I'm at that stage now where sometimes I think to myself, you know, I haven't practiced for like 50 laps. Is there any point in even bothering? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a bit frustrating now because it's not even fun for me when I think, you know, I could easily have won that race then if I'd had a bit of practice. But when you're knocking around the back just because you don't know the ins and outs, I mean, it's small differences. We're only talking about small differences now. Let's see. I will find yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling Hyundai. I don't know what I'm feeling really. I need to feel something. What am I feeling? Don't know what I'm going to do. I might just do Ford. Just have a look at Ford. Ford. I've barely driven Fords in this game. Barely driven Fords. But I might just go for a Ford. Let's just do a Ford. I don't know what's the best out of these. I don't even know what's the best out of those two cars. But let's just pick them anyway. Who cares? It's not like I'm going to win anything because I'm up against people who are just too good at this game at this stage. Did anyone out there watch qualifying today? Anyone watch qualifying? That's how decisions done, guys, by the way. You just get on there and do it, you know. This analysing which car's going to be the best. I don't do all that rubbish. It's not about that. It's just about doing the racing. I think that's what frustrates me. I wish I could. I just want to enjoy the racing, and I get caught up in winning and trying to compete, and I just think, and it's good at first, because when you're racing D's and C's and B's and A's for the most part, it's not too difficult. But as soon as you get to sort of S and A plus ranks, suddenly you're racing all these top guys that take it really seriously, and suddenly it's like, it's so what are we doing? What track? Okay. Well, I don't even like this track. Oh. Let's have another test on this. Got 14 minutes to a race. Let's see if we can try and improve the qualifying lap. Oh, that was a bit disappointing, wasn't it, viewers? It was a bit disappointing. Like I say, I was just hoping to get sort of 10th. That was what I was aiming for. And, you know, where did we end up? 17th or something? 16th. Just, we could have ended up maybe 2 or 3 places higher if I had not messed around with the fuel and not had that off. But as I say, it's one of those things. Let's... I think sometimes that's another thing as well. You know, when you say in racing, you could have. I think sometimes that's an important thing to say, because it's like strategy. You've got to look at strategy and say, okay, even though the strategy didn't work, doesn't mean that the strategy was wrong. You know, there are other things that come into play, and it just kind of ruins it for you. Oh yes, that was it. Who's now? I've had time to think. Tom, really had to think about it, but I guess you've got to say the Mercedes are favourites tomorrow, because they've got a fast car with straight line speed advantage. You know, between the Mercedes and the Ferrari, I still see them as the speed advantage cars over the Honda of Max, and that's it really, isn't it? I mean, other than that, it all depends on incident really. If anybody crashes, you know, Lando Norris today had a good. See, that's where I lose a lot of time, is on that corner. To try and find the manhole incident. It was. I mean, it's a very dangerous incident, and George Russell could have been very seriously injured in that incident. Very seriously injured. I mean, it could be a life-threatening incident if it had been a bit higher. So, you know, you've got to look at things like that and say, let's turn that ghost off for a minute. It's just going to put me off. So I just can't get a qualifying lap out of this car, and I know that if I don't have a lap time in the 111s, there's no point in me racing. So I will do a race if I can get in the 111s. And the crane, absolutely, Brian. I mean, the crane really was an even bigger disaster than the manhole cover in many respects. You'd think that the truck had actually driven round this track before. Concentrate just for a second, just to see if we can try and I lost a lot of time there. Favourite current F1 livery? That's a good question. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, that's Red Bull's always just Red Bull, isn't it? There's nothing for me terribly exciting about Red Bull. I quite like the Renault's setup, actually. Ferrari have gone for their matte paint jobs. I prefer shiny cars over... I think actually Mercedes is quite nice this year. It's subtle, but they've made some nice changes to it. Look at that, half a second on that corner then. Amazing. Just not finding consistent speed on this car with this track. I just can't get a qualifying time in, guys. There's just no point to be racing because I already know that I'm going to be starting at like 18th place again, you know. I might have one race just to have a bit of fun, I guess, and then just see how we... Because I'm not going to get a better lap here, it's just not coming together for me. Trying too hard. Giving it everything. So what did we have? We had recommendations for gaming chairs. Oh, I don't really have recommendations as such. They all have pros and cons to them, really. And the one I like the best isn't actually available to buy anymore, which is the old R seat that you can't buy. I use an R seat because it's just the one I got. But there isn't. They're all very different, and it all depends on your height. I'm very tall, so you know, for me, it's we'll enter this race. Go on, we'll have a go, viewers. Yeah, so I think it depends on your height. I mean, I'm not too keen on the. I find at the moment the play seat isn't good for my back, so I'd need a pillow in it. Vasaros are nice, but expensive. And then there's loads, really. I mean, they're all quite similar. I mean, one thing I always say is lumbar support, though, lower back support, in the sense that really important. It depends how tall you are as well. I'm just over 6'6", so as a 2 metre tall person, it's very uncomfortable for me in a lot of rigs. Even this rig isn't comfortable for me. It's just something I work with. But I think really you need to, you know, go along to a gaming show. You know, when you have shows like, you know, EGX and stuff like that, they'll always have racing rigs. It's maybe one day remember on YouTube, Inside Sim Racing used to do a lot of rigs, and people say to me, you know, Alan, why don't you review more rigs? And I say, right, in America, people have got massive houses and garages where they can review all these things, but I haven't. I just haven't got space, basically. You know, and also rig building takes ages. It's a lot of effort. You know, I couldn't knock out videos if I was in streams if I was building rigs all day. So they had 3 of them at the time, and 4 of them at Inside Sim Racing while they were doing it. And it was like 1 video every 2 weeks, wasn't it? So we're going to see how we get on in the race. I hope it qualifies me. I mean, my qualifying time's really bad. I don't really want to start on the back row again if I can help it. But I don't like starting midfield either, because in these cars on this course, it's lethal basically. There's going to be someone sliding off who's going to bump into you and collect you on the way. Just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. Now, who's else we got there? We've got Nitsa. Hello, Nitsa. Gone back to Thrustmaster wheel. Yeah. Oh, gaming legends. Thank you very much for the donation. I very much appreciate it. Thank you. And there you are on the screen. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. What was I just saying? I've gone back to Thrustmaster wheel. I have, and I've gone back to Thrustmaster wheel simply because I'm going to be testing perhaps some rally and some other stuff, and that's the only reason, is basically I'm doing a bit of that for the moment. But also I think it's always good to change wheels now and again, because you know, they're both great wheels. I mean, I know that people have their favourites and that, but to me, I don't like to get caught up in that. I also like to say, do you know what, sometimes I'm going to use Thrustmaster. People complain about which wheel is quicker. But it's really, I mean, within reason. If you've got a Thrustmaster or a Fanatic, they're both great wheels. It's more down to other things. So, for example, if you're a rally fan, Thrustmaster is better in my eyes. If you're a rally fan, because you've got the Thrustmaster gear stick, and you've got Thrustmaster Sparko rim, and I wasn't concentrating then. And then you've got Thrustmaster GT, which is nice rim, which is the Sparko GC. I've got all these rims knocking about, so that's always handy. The Fanatic Formula rim is amazing. Probably my favourite rim from anywhere. The Fanatic Formula rim is stunning, and I really enjoy using it. The Fanatic pedals, I'm never really such a fan of them, but I like the new ones that come with a Formula 1 set, because it's slightly rougher metal and it just feels nice under your feet. Your feet don't get so cold on them. It's well interesting because of the way they're designed, and when you take the rubber off the pedals, you get a nice feeling of the pedal travelling under your foot. You can really feel the pedals well. You also have the ABS option, which doesn't mean ABS brakes. It means that when you're hitting the brakes, you can set where you want the brakes to rumble, and they create a rumble. So I set my brakes to rumble at 95%, so I know when I'm locking my brakes, or when I'm 100% braking a bit under, just a bit under. Sometimes you want to brake at literally like 94%. You won't lock your wheels, but you get a massive amount more braking performance out of it. And if you ever look at me braking, see, I'm somebody who's quite sensitive for my brakes. I don't tend to brake really heavily compared to some people. Some people brake hard and later. I tend to brake lightly into a corner and glide through corners. I like to carry apex speed and drive more smoothly. That's how I like to drive, compared to some people that are more aggressive, say. And that helps me with consistency. And so I use the throttle to power me through a corner, to steer me through the corner, shall I say. As the corner opens up, instead of undoing the wheel, I undo the power to power me through the corner. So what that means is you actually see me doing less wheel input sometimes, and you might think, oh, it doesn't look like I'm actually doing much, because I do a lot more with my pedal control than I do my I got it wrong there. Do my pedal control than I do my hold on. Okay, we're going to stop there. So we're going to match make. Thanks, Logic. I've been saying this for a couple of months actually. My plan is to set up another gamer tag, a Team VVV gamer tag. I keep meaning to do it, just haven't had the time. And then once I set that up, I'm going to set up a sort of regular race with viewers day. That's my plan. And then we can have sort of races and lobbies and stuff like that on a regular basis. I think that'll be good fun actually, to get everybody into a lobby. Enjoy that. Nitsa liked T300 wheel switch, Fnatic, better pedals, but in terms of wheels, Frost Mastery is nice. The Ferrari 599 rim was great. So yeah, I think we're good to go here with this car. I'm using the Jordan 1991 livery, which I figured not many people would be using. So now 30 seconds, and then boom, and extras here as well. Oops, a daisy, as I'm reading my text rather than. I will have to concentrate, I think, at the start of this, guys. These races are very heavy to concentrate on. I mean, look at that, so easily that can happen, you know. Right. Okay. Let's see how we get on, guys. Starting me 9th, which is better, isn't it? Look, narrowly missing 8th. It's, right, let's see how we get on now. Okay, so I'm in a lobby of Bs mostly, so this is one of those races where it's quite critical for me to try and not finish too far down. I started in the wrong gear there. And I'm being pushed off. And I'm lost. Just what I didn't need. Just what I didn't need. Ah, well, it wasn't had to be today, was it? Not my day. So we have no chance now of a decent finish. Literally no chance. put off. So, not obviously terrible start, and we've managed to work our way back up to 8th, which is something. It's not the end of the world, it's better than I was expecting, honestly. I'm probably going to stay in number 2 now in terms of engine modes, just because there's just some breathing room from the cars in front and behind, and if I was at number 3 I'd be constantly battling with the guys behind, I think, so bear in mind that a lot of the guys are probably still using engine mode 1, which does give you more lap time, but obviously at some point we're going to enter the pits. It's hard to overtake people on track, much easier to do it during the pit stop if we can just hang on with a bit more fuel saving, you know. Trying something new out there, it didn't work. I'm not far behind them, you know, I'm just trying to keep these guys within range. If I came up behind them, I wouldn't overtake them. I'd actually aim to drop my fuel even further. You know, there's no point trying to overtake them when you know, hey, we'll just try and pit at roughly the same time, and then you know we're all going to come out the pits, and I might be in the pits 2 seconds less than them, you know. Ash Graham in front of us here, he actually didn't stop when I raced him before, so let's see if we can just hang on behind him a bit, just drop the fuel load down a little bit to a 4 and just see how we hang on to him. Not enough pickup there on the fuel. Go to 3. We will need to stop. I don't know how he's going so quickly, because I know he does this no stop strategy and I quite figured out how he did it, but the other day it's very impressive. We'll lose a bit of time here, but swirling around a bit there. That was close. That guy's managed to pit from the lead, so shows how far ahead in the lead he was. Just try 4th for a second. I just want to see what the 2.7. Let's see how far he pulls away on a number 4 setting, just out of interest. 2.16 behind. No, I lost too much time there, didn't I? Goodness. Now the guys behind us will have fresh tyres, which will make a big difference to them on the last few laps, so we will get fresh tyres. I don't know how Ash does it. He somehow sets his car up with the boost or something to use less fuel, but yet still get good performance. And I'm going to go a bit higher now, just to use a little bit more. And I'm going to pit this lap because better to pit now, I think. Okay, medium, and let's just see how far I pull down the order. A little bit over what I needed, just to make me comfortable now. 7.9 seconds back to 7th place. Do remember, like you say, we started from way behind last place, so we've actually come up quite well so far. Lap 12. Rear end really lost it then. .5 seconds to the next car. Well, we're not going to make that in one lap. There we go. Not a bad place. You know, coming back from last, not entirely disappointed with that. Actually, that was a solid drive, especially with all the fuel saving. Ash, of course, didn't stop. You see that? He managed to do the whole race without stopping, and that's quite a skill. Been down a long way. Okay, so Ash didn't stop. He doesn't. He did that the other day. Oh, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. It's 2 donations. I really appreciate that. So, Matt and Gaming Legends, I really appreciate it. You know, really helps what we do. It really does. Oh, that was all right, wasn't it? Up 4 places, but it was like down tons of places. I just want to have a look at a bit of that again, because that was kind of a... So what happened there was I got taken out, then felt a bit moody, so I just didn't talk much because I felt moody about it, and then thought, well, someone's just asking there, how do you not stop? And I have to admit, I'm a little bit of confused as to how they do it without stopping as well. I wonder if they tone down the power, which reduces the fuel consumption, and then that way they can get to the end. Because when I turned down to engine mode 4, I couldn't keep with him at all. It wasn't even close. They're saying fuel map 6, but fuel map 6 is 2 seconds a lap slower. I mean, best lap is a 1:14. I think that seems to be a bit fast to me for a fuel map like that. He stopped, so the guy in second stopped, but the top guy did fuel map 6. That seems to be quite unlikely to me. It's strange because if any of you noticed, when I went down to 4, I lost a whole second in about 4 corners and realised that's not working for me. So I don't know how you do that. That's a magical mystery to me as to how you could manage to run that and get that kind of lap time. I still kind of think that the absolutely channeled a bit of Schumacher livery power. That's it. It's about trying to maximise it smoothly and recognising. You see, when I let people past, and some people say to me, "Why do you let people past?" It's because you've got to recognise when you're racing somebody, always, and when they're probably going to fall off the track and make a mistake themselves. And there's a lot of that going into it. So this is the area here, because you can change the power ratio, and I would love to know how much the power ratio affects fuel consumption. I don't think is there anything that tells you that? Does anyone know? Is there anything that tells you that? Because I think just turning that down a little bit can probably, short shifting, Rayburn. It's not enough. It's not enough. Short shifting's not enough, because we're short shifting a lot anyway, because the car has a lot of torque, and it's just the fact that the first 2 gears don't work on it. So you'll see a lot of the corners are done in 4th gear, 3rd and 4th. In 4th, the car doesn't turn in very well, so you can't do very slow corners in 4th. I would love to know how that affects fuel consumption, if anyone knows. And Ashley's saying here, it's just fuel map 6. It just seems unbelievable to me, Ashley, how you could keep it going. I went down to fuel map 4 and I lost a lot of time, and I did a lot of that on fuel map 3. But it seems like maybe the first lap you need to be down straight away, and I did the first lap on fuel mode 2. So maybe I lost it in the sort of 1 and 2 in that first lap. Because the first lap's so much concentration with minefield everywhere that it's a bit difficult to follow. Let's take a look at of course I ended up last by the second corner, and that probably didn't help me. We'll have one more go. I don't know why I'm putting myself through this, but we'll have one more go, and this will be my final race of the evening, and then that'll be that. Then I'm going to try and see how I get on with not stopping this time. The goal is to not stop. So let's just see if we can, because I watch other drivers all the time, and it's all to do with, like I say, you've got short shifting, you've got going through corners in higher gears, but you just need a bit of patience, I say, when to let people past as well. You know, if you've got a crazy behind you and you know he's a bit of a crazy, just let him go. and then he'll pull away from you, and then he'll fall off and smack into the bushes basically, and it's all over from there. So it's always interesting to see how different people race. You know, I had a guy the other day that just wouldn't let anybody past, budged everybody off, seemed to get away with it quite bizarrely. Fuel map 6 on the grid, really? Wow, okay. Well, look, I'm going to try it then. I'm going to try it, and if it doesn't work, Ashley, I'm going to blame you. It's all your fault. So, right. What do we got here? We've got a couple of minutes. I'm going to be straight back, guys. Hold on. Straight back, guys. And then we have the race. Right, back for the race, viewers. Can you shed telemetry and replays in the go? That would be helpful, but I don't think we can though. Let's see, what are we up against? A's A plus here, and Ash is in here as well. So now obviously he's starting in third, and I'm starting down the order, aren't I? See, I'm starting in 13th, which kind of means I'm kind of already at a disadvantage at the start. That's a bit of an issue. Yeah, I suppose so. No one wants to give away their secrets, do they? Which is fair enough, you know. I'm starting 13th, and the problem for me is because I'm streaming all the time, nothing I do is secret, is it? It's literally quite obvious. Schumacher 61 wants a clean race. Let's hope so. It's never going to be clean, is it? It's a lobby. I wonder why I'm getting put into lobbies with so many Bs, though. It just seems like at the moment I'm getting constant B lobbies. But look at Ash's time, 1 minute 10. I mean, that's amazing. You know, it's 2 seconds faster than me. So I'm just not quick enough, maybe. I think that's it. I'm just not quick enough, and you know, doing my best. But, let's see how we get on now then. Alright, let's see how we get on. So, change the fuel mode to, I'm going to change it to 2 off the line, just to get off the first few corners. So I really am concerned that 3 is just 6, just see. We'll go 6. Let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Oh man, that didn't work out for me, did it? Being on the outside. Oh, of course, what I'm forgetting is I'm driving with a different fuel map. It's just not working for me. You can see there, I literally just can't get any drive. Oh. And that's giving me a penalty, so I mean that's literally because my car's not quick enough to compete with other people's. So this hasn't worked for me at all, this fuel map thing. I don't know how it works. It's I mean look, you can see the engine's not got any pickup or anything. Nah, it's not working for me, look. It's not working for me at all. I mean look, people are just driving away. I'm having to go a gear lower, which uses up more fuel anyway. So I can't even go in higher gear. Oh, this has been a disaster. Disastrous idea. Ah well, never mind, we'll just do the race. We said this is what we'd try, so let's just experiment and see where we end up. No point changing it now. I mean, we would probably have been in comfortably into the top 8 right now, but obviously because we've got no acceleration, we're blocking everybody in. 3.1 seconds behind the car in front. Okay, that was something new. I've never had that happen before. Yeah, and the car's got no power. Just, I don't know how you drive it like this. I think my previous strategy certainly worked better for me. It's weird because normally I'm racing, when I'm at the back, I'm normally catching up with people and unable to get past them. Whereas now I'm so slow that I just can't catch anybody. Literally there's no more in the car. 25 seconds behind the leaders already, so they could actually comfortably do a pit stop and come out in front of me now. So the strategy definitely doesn't work for me. Up to number 4, and then if necessary we'll see how that lap counter goes. Going around that in 4th because we're trying to save a bit of fuel still. So it's still marginal, you know. It might not look it on that counter, but it is. 10 laps left, but you watch that go down as we get through the race. I never find the lap counter to be very reliable, because it says you've got something and then before you know it, it's made its calculation based on what your fuel setting was rather than what it is now. So if you're running a race in second, it calculates it based on seconds. So if you suddenly switch up to number 1, suddenly where you had enough fuel to the end, it doesn't anymore. Just going to run with this fuel setting to the end, and then we're going to see what we can learn from it afterwards, basically. I've not tried a no stop, so what are we on? 48%, it's not too bad. Just running in this to the end of the race now really should see us through. I mean, we're losing quite a lot of time, but it's okay. We'll just see where we end up. What it is that fortunately that penalty kind of puts that a sink a bit, in the sense that, you know, we've lost 5 seconds on where we perhaps would have been, and that might have been different. But I think strategy-wise, I feel that you know, if we were, I think the idea is that, I mean, that guy will pass us in a moment anyway, because he's going to make a lunge, and then he's just gone into the back of me and pushed me off, which is brilliant. And that's that, really. See, now I'll have no chance against these guys, because these guys will be running, you know, high engine revs. There he goes. It's a good little experiment, I think. That's the way I'm looking at this. You know, alright, it will smash my driver rating because I'm being beaten by so many Bs. But I'm just trying to say, you know what, let's just try it out. 38% fuel left. It still seems like to me that there's not enough fuel, frankly. Still looking a little bit marginal, isn't it? My tyres are kind of gone now, so I've got 4 very difficult laps now. See how that chap just pulled away then? I was aware that once you've got high fuel and new tyres, you're going to be gone down the road basically. I mean, I'm losing 2 seconds a lap. You understeer the car with fourth, it's tricky. Back to 4 on fuel now, just to give us an extra couple of miles an hour down the straight. Oh, I'm cramping my foot, this is not good. Foot's getting too cold on the pedals again. Tyres are really going for me now, so this chap will definitely get past me. Also, he's probably on. Let's let him go because he's quite racy for that. Probably got a lap 12. It's an interesting. I learned a lot doing this strategy. You know, I certainly think there's legs in it in the no-stop strategy. I just feel that. It's when you're qualifying like he is on the 3rd, you can actually go low fuel on the first lap, get away from all the drama, and then gradually reduce the fuel rather than starting on low fuel like I did. That's where it was wrong. Starting on 6 just puts you on the back foot at the beginning of the race, and that's a nightmare because you're in everybody's way. On the other hand, it can be a bit frustrating because you know you've got chaps like this guy here who isn't terribly quick. And if we had full fuel and tyres, we wouldn't be in this position. So, and I've made a mistake there. If my tyres are wearing, it's all right though. They don't look as worn on the actual counter as they actually feel in terms of the understeer. 2 laps to go. I think this chap will have us behind as well. There's 2 of them. This guy behind me is going to have me as well. I mean, my tyres are really not looking good now, and we've got 1 or 2 engine revs versus 3. Well, 8th place, I think, after the most terrible start and literally ending the first lap in last place, I think it was a reasonable result. I think we lost 5 seconds, which meant we lost that 7th place I mean, if you think about it, you know, we started the race way down the order in 13th, so to go from 13th to last back to 8th, I think it's a good result, all in all. It's not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. It didn't do my ranking any good, but I certainly learned a lot doing it. I think the big problem is, as always, I'm starting too far down the order. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. After the week's over, if Ash can post a video on it, then I think that'll be great. I'm going to just save the replay of that because I just want to have a look at the first lap just to see the drama-rama. So some decent racing there. It's more of a concentration race, isn't it? Because I'm not my fuel map's where it is. I can't compete with the other cars. I can't race them. I just have to be as sensible as I can, really calm, really smooth, and just not make too many mistakes. But remember that when you change your fuel map, the car handles differently. It changes the feeling of the car. It changes the way it accelerates out of corners. So all what you've learned, you kind of adapt to it. I don't think I actually had that rally car. I think it's actually for the first time ever. I think it's given me a car I didn't have. So that Matt, 8th place is good. Matt, 8th place is good. We had Boris saying a pit earlier, but we didn't because we were trying not to, Waste Cadet did the strategy. He did. He was very quick. I mean, I think what I realised there is that that strategy may work if you're starting on the front 2 rows, but it doesn't work when you're starting in the middle of the pack. So if we just take a little replay at the beginning of that race, for me, it was all a bit of a nightmare because I didn't have the acceleration out of corners, and that meant that everybody was crashing into me because I was too slow. And then I was getting rated down, sportsmanship rated down, because it sort of saw that I was being slow basically in acceleration zones. It's sort of a no-win scenario. So let's see, and but no, I just want to say a big thank you to, of course, Matt Block and to Gaming Legends for the donations. I really appreciate that, chaps. Okay, oh, there was a Swivelly car. Is this the race that had the jumping car in as well? We can see the jumping car in a moment. So I did actually take flight in this car. It's going to be a moment to remember, isn't it? Let's just take a look then from my point of view. I just want to see what happened here. So starting 13th on the grid. Let's just see. I normally get a good launch in terms of my start. So I'm going to start, but then the car didn't get away, did it? Because where I would have overtaken this guy and a couple of others, I couldn't because I didn't have any speed. So coming through here, and look, I got on the power, but I had no power. So these guys all went up the inside. So I would have been on the inside there. So I lost 3 places just where I didn't have the power there. This guy kept going in the back of me because I had no power. And again here, just got hit into the back there, so it pushed me forward. And I think one of those, again, he's hit me for the 3rd time because I'm going so slowly. And people think I'm brake testing probably. And again, he's trying to get past. Mayhem ahead, and I think somebody else hits me here. I'm going up here, and then that he touches the barrier. That then gives me a penalty. So that was that. It was actually him bumping into me that caused the penalty. And again now I've got sportsmanship down for that as well. So, and then I get, obviously I've got a penalty now, 4 seconds. So that puts me from 12th all the way back down to. So had I been driving with normal fuel, I'd probably been in top 6 and minding my own business. But of course that puts me back to 15th, 16th, and that then sets me a long way down the order with fuel map 6. That doesn't actually tell you what fuel map can do in telemetry, does it? It doesn't tell you anything, which is interesting. It's interesting it doesn't say anything. So there's nothing here we can see. That's alright, Ashley, thanks for that. So it's really interesting to see different fuel strategies, because as you can see I couldn't keep with anybody my setting. I made the decision to say let's stick with the 6 fuel map 6 at this stage, but I lost so much time on fuel map 6 that I just couldn't keep with anybody. It was really like way down the order. So I think that strategy works if you push a bit harder on the first couple of laps, or the first lap, at least get through the first lap, and then let it settle down, depending on where you finish. Oh, there we are. Brilliant, brilliant. Let's just that was a moment there, wasn't it? Let's just see it from a replay camera. I've got to see this from the other end. Oh, brilliant. Look at that. That is amazing. That is amazing. I think that's I don't have my controller attached at the moment. Can we? That is awesome. That is awesome. Just need the right camera shot. I wonder if I can attach my controller, if it will then give me control. I don't normally use a controller. Will it let me? Oh, it will. It will. Where's my car gone? Ah, there it is. That is a photo. Look at that. That doesn't happen often, viewers. That's a hell of a picture. There we are. Boom. That is a picture. Okay, so that's a photo there. So okay, I've not actually taken a photo on this in a long time. So shoot, there we are. That's a picture. That's my photo of the day, viewers. We're just pretty pleased about that, actually. Taking flight. It's not something I've ever done before in a Formula One car. There's a James Hunt picture, actually, of him going over a bump, like about that high. But yeah, that's kind of awesome in its own way. Yes. Yes. Okay. And let's just back out of that for a minute. Yep. Yep. And let's see. Is there any way to do slow motion? Does anyone know if there's any slow motion option on this? Where's Super GT when you need him? Telling you how to use accurately use everything on this. He probably knows it inside out. Oh, there it is though. That was a takeoff, wasn't it? I've got to watch this again because that was pretty skillful as well. Lost another position thanks to that. So one more time because I'm just loving this. I'm just loving this. So basically, then 6 fuel start didn't work for me at all. Starting with lap 1, 2 maybe, and then going from there. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for tuning in. And then after that, really, I don't know how I ended up 8th, but came from 16th to 8th just by minding my own business and literally trying to find a rhythm. So I lost 6, maybe 8 seconds on the first lap, and then probably lost a bit more time here and there just through occasionally being in the wrong fuel map. I think going with a 5 quite a lot can help quite a bit. There was a percentage check on the dials which showed you how much percentage, like you use 10% of the engine power on the 2, and then it's like 75% you have at number 3 and so on. You know, you've got less than 50% of the engine power at number 6, so you do lose a lot of performance when you we just went round and round until everybody pitted. There was no overtaking at all. And other than that, people crashed off, didn't they? Just going to fast forward. We stayed 16th, 15th. So we're in 16th for most of the race. I mean, how on earth did we end up? How on earth did we end up any higher than 15th? Literally just by trying to keep it going. So you can see as I was settling into a rhythm on fuel map 5, was finding a bit more pace. But still, 2 seconds a lap slower than I would have been on a better fuel map. So actually, it probably would have worked for me if I'd been higher up the order. Going back to early post, pad, manual transmission, and no traction control. I wonder if traction control uses more fuel. Maybe it does. maybe it slows me down too much when I'm on lower power modes. So, it's saying, isn't it? Oh, sorry. Thanks for that, guys. I must have been talking to myself for ages there. The replay is obviously much louder than my normal setting. So, no, it's quite interesting. Thanks for letting me know, because I can't always tell. I don't have my headphones on. You see, having a break after a good couple of races. So we had a very disappointing FIA race, but I mean, I say disappointing. I mean, I had no practice, and you could see there. Then we were finding a rhythm, weren't we, with the 1:15s, which shows we lost half a second. That one lap, we lost, 1.8 seconds. We lost over half a second. So I'd say if we'd had a strong first lap and then immediately decided, right, we're going to settle it down now in terms of what we're going to do, I think it could have been a very different race. But this guy pushing me off the track there, of course, that cost me quite badly. That was a bit of a pain there as well. I know everyone's a bit desperate when they get out of the pits, but there's no point bashing into dudes and dudes, so yeah, we kept in the 1:15s. We'll be a bit slower this lap, obviously, because of that incident. He's going to go past here, so I let him go past, because again, there's no point in trying to stop a car that's just pitted with maximum fuel. I mean, just a waste of time, basically. You can see the way he just pulls away. I mean, no chance there. My only chance is to say, right, I'm going to keep going round and round, and if any of these guys crash off. So I guess you've got to work out the numbers in the pits. We're doing a 1:15 here. 3 was using quite a lot of fuel, comparatively speaking. So I think a mid part of the race where you're toning your fuel down works. It's a shame, because we're only going to work out tomorrow. Yes, absolutely. Traction control does slow you down, and I'm aware of that. I mean, obviously I did some testing on without traction control, but it's very different when you're driving. I mean, remember that I was driving it on number 1 power. Driving this car without traction on number 1 power is a lot more risky than driving it on number 6 speed or something like that. So that's something to, 6 power. So we're somehow in 8th again. Did somebody go off? I wasn't even looking then. I was reading the comments. But interesting seeing the different fuel usage. I learn a lot from this, because I really like strategy in racing games. I like the way there's 2 very different strategies you can use in this race. If you start in the lead and you go hell for leather, you can probably pit and still win it, because you'll have good tyres and maximum fuel. But there's a lot of fuel management if you're not doing that. So I mean, my fuel was actually pretty good, really. It's a shame it doesn't show the same in-game gauges on the replay in terms of the fuel map setting and the the percentage, and just as it is, because it's quite helpful when you're looking. Obviously, for people watching a stream, you can rewind, but it's certainly interesting to see that. Is everyone watching the Grand Prix tomorrow? Who's watching Baku Grand Prix action? Everybody watching that? Grand Prix action tomorrow. And of course, again, boring Mercedes on the front row, boring. All that, oh no, the Ferraris are quicker than us and all that stuff Lewis comes out with, and then boom, both Mercedes there. You always have Toto saying, I don't know if we can do it. It's going to take a miracle. And then boom, straight on the front row, aren't they? It's always the way. Mercedes is by far the quickest car, and obviously Charles Leclerc made a bit of a mistake today, didn't he? Mistaker to maker, which I'm sure he'll be frustrated over tonight, but he just needs to get his head in check. it's strange, but his mindset has changed a lot, hasn't it? I mean, he joined as a number 2 driver, accepted the number 2 driver, and now he doesn't. Now he's in the team sort of thing. You can see that written all over him. And I just feel it's a little bit negative right now. It just needs to be focusing on doing the driving and less of the talking, really. So he just needs to, he has the potential, he has the time. It's his first year at Ferrari. You know, you don't need to go there and, you know, push limits. You need to go there and develop and build the team around you. You know, nobody goes there and wins a championship straight away. I mean, admittedly, he's got a better car than other drivers had. When Michael Schumacher went there, Ferrari hadn't been winning anything for years. Aleti and Berger, try as they might, they could never do it. I mean, Mansell years before, the Lion, you know, he was a bit of a car breaker in many ways. I mean, I don't really know. When people say someone's a car breaker, I always say, what does that mean? Does it mean he shifted badly, or what does it actually mean? All I know is that he just pushed the car really hard and was a crazy guy, and that's why I'm a big fan. Great time. Formula E race in Paris. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't get into Formula E so much. I'd like to get into it, but I don't know. I still not entirely sold on the structure of the series. I find it a bit gimmicky, Formula E at the moment, and that's my big problem. I mean, even Formula 1 is gimmicky, isn't it? I mean, as much as you've got 20 drivers on track, you've got like 10,000 engineers behind the scenes controlling everything on the cars, which I don't agree with. I've always felt that there should be no live telemetry from the cars. You put the car out there, you give it to the driver, take the radios out of the cars as well. You know, don't tell the driver when to pit, don't let him know what tyre temperatures are, let him feel the car, let him drive the car and determine when he needs to pit. That's what I want a racer to be. I want the best driver analysing their car, and then taking out a black box recorder and downloading the data at the end of the race. Be much better. Likewise as well, you know, we've discussed it with Tim, who helps out on the channel and does our F1 reviews. You know, we agree. You know, we'd like to see less practice sessions. You know, get rid of them. 1 hour practice. That's it. No full race simulations. You know, then see how they get on. And you'll see cars going off everywhere. Wrong pressures, wrong this, wrong that, and the drivers are going to have to deal with it. They're just going to have to drive with what they've got. You know, because they won't have done a full simulation. Much like when you see me doing racing here, and I say to you guys, I haven't don't know what I'm doing. Like in the earlier race, I went with the wrong fuel, wrong fuel understanding, and that was because I was trying to not pit, and it turned out that I might as well have gone flat out and pitted. But this guy, look at him right on the apex. There's no avoiding that. I mean, that could have been a nasty impact. So an interesting race there. I mean, up to 8th place from most of the race. I did in 16th place. I mean, it really is a strange race. This guy coming up here, luckily, I decided to stay inside. I didn't realise. I thought there was another lap to go when I let him by. Otherwise, I would have upped the fuel mode. But as it was, he completely got his braking wrong and went off. Ouch. So there you have it. That was a nice little finish, wasn't it? Saturday night driving. And that's it. But it's all quiet on the chat now. I'm assuming people have gone to bed. And nobody's watching the race. So I'm just talking to myself. So it does say there are people watching. I never can tell unless people are actually talking. Right, let's see. Because I don't actually look at the page you guys look at. I'm going to look at the page now. We've got 42 people. 42 people. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, MotoGP and WS World Superbikes. That's right. It's all about the rider. I much prefer it when it's all up to the rider in terms of. Let's have a look at this first race again. I much prefer it when it's about the driver. You know, the driver saying, "What do my tyres feel like?" Not a computer saying what's what. Or even if the computer does say stuff, it's a bit like Gran Turismo. It has some kind of info. Then the driver has to make an assessment. You know, if you have that right now as a driver in Gran Turismo, you're assessing a lot. Also, the drivers get told when to use certain buttons on the steering wheel. None of that. They would have to simplify the steering wheel. So a driver would know what buttons to use at what time. You'd have to be trained. So now this was the earlier race, started in 9th place, and again here, this has probably done terrible damage to my stats tonight, unfortunately. I'm going to take a look at the all-important stats, and I'm just going to see what the situation is with the stats, because I think I've damaged them tonight. Not too bad. 40,000. Basically where I started, so it's not the end of the world. I'm going to try this again tomorrow. I mean, I might even do a stream tomorrow, just trying this again and seeing if I can. So stats are kind of alright. They're dances with sheep saying good night. Good night. Let's see here. Yeah, stats are okay. Yeah, so this was the race earlier. I wasn't even watching this, was I? This is a different race, of course. I missed the beginning where I got taken out, didn't I? So this was the first race. So I'm coming up there, and that guy went straight in the back of me, and that just pushed me off, basically. And that's it. Then I went down to last place. So starting from 18th place, well, I say starting, you know, ending the first corner in 18th place, and you really do feel like your race is basically over at a time like that. Absolutely, Rob. Yeah, not too bad. I think if you look at the dramas that's happened, I mean, going down to last place in the first two races, in every single race, yeah, it's just not been my night in that sense. But I've enjoyed the driving. I do enjoy strategic racing. You know, I've not. You know, it's like here. At least I know, because there's a pit stop, I know it's not all over. But there, I had to keep that position. It was important to keep that position. Look at that though, completely through that guy. Goodness. So yeah, it's important to keep that position and then work our way up. But not too bad. You know, when you think I was 18th at the you know, second corner at Druids, and now I'm up to 13th place. That's not too bad for the first lap. So I'm reasonably pleased with. Oh, and a little bit of an overtake here as well. That's not too bad. You know, I forget about this sort of stuff. I always think to myself, I never really overtake anybody, but you've got a few overtakes here and there. Sees an opportunity, stamping on the power there. Sees an opportunity when it's available, and then just try and work your way through. You know, we've gone from 18th, just one lap ago, to 12th in terms of that point on the circuit, and this guy's blocking me here, so I know I've got to try and find a way by. I love these classic cars, you know, that's why I went with a classic livery. I know it's a 91 livery. Thanks, Rick, appreciate it. And actually saying about BTCC tomorrow, yeah, I mean, BTCC is always great fun action racing. You know, I like the way you see the cars leaning, you know, so heavily. They push the cars, they rinse them, basically, utterly rinse them. I really like that in motorsports when you have that, is that. And that's something that they don't show enough in Gran Turismo here. The cars look too stable. You don't see them leaning on their suspension enough, even when you're really pushing. And it is something that I hope one day when we have Gran Turismo, whatever, that we really start to see the cars moving a bit more on their suspension. They're still a little bit static, a little bit rigid in the way they drive. So that's something. It's quite interesting actually. I've been using this restream things that we stream to Twitch and Facebook and 2 YouTube channels, and it started off okay, but it doesn't really work that well in the long term. I'll probably just stream to YouTube, you know, cause it's easier to stream to YouTube honestly than everything else. It's also expensive, so I mean, don't get me wrong, the stream quality is really nice on Twitch, and especially now we've got the new 1080p super duper streams. Oh, I didn't realise my top is a little bit bluey green, isn't it? It's something I've learned. It's a little bit bluey green from the old green screen. Sure, Rick. Yep, feel free, fire away. Started third. Ah, well, that's what happened to me here, and I ended up, didn't I, 18th, and now somehow I'm in 8th place. How did I end up in 8th place? I don't even know. But you know, that's it. You know, you just keep on driving and doing your best, basically, and hoping that everyone else makes mistakes or has the wrong strategy. I mean, look at that. I mean, we're lap 4, and we've gone from, you know. Also, you need to know when to give way to somebody and when to say, no, that's my corner. You've got to be assertive in that way. He's gone wide there. That's great when that happens, because it always takes that bit of respite it gives you. You know, when you've got somebody, you know, on you all the time, you just relax for a second. You get that 2 second, you know, they're outside of the slipstream window, and that way you can just relax for a minute and get on with your racing. So that always helps quite a lot. Actually, these replays would look cracking on a PS4 Pro, but I mean, imagine what it's going to be like on PS5. I mean, this is going to be amazing on PS5. You're going to have weather, loads more graphical detail, all at 60 frames, perhaps 4K 60 frames. It won't be on streams, obviously, but I won't be streaming in 60, 4K. I mean, even now, I still make videos in 1080p. I won't be changing that anytime soon. Oh, that's why you mentioned it, Rob. Yes, carbon copy. It's horrible. There's nothing you can do about it. As soon as somebody goes in the back of you, your car just travels off. Would I recommend the CSL Elite F1 wheel? It's a great wheel. Great wheel. I mean, fantastic. I mean, I suppose you've got that as the official F1 wheel, so it's the recommended wheel for Formula 1 because you're using the same equipment as the F1 esports drivers. Therefore, you're not at a disadvantage. You know, if you make it to the finals, you'll be using the same equipment. That matters. You know, when you change from one wheel to another, there's a long adjustment process, and sometimes, well, I say long, it depends on the wheel, the settings, the rotation, the feeling of the pedals in particular. And pedals are very different. Brake pedals, brake pressure. The Fanatic wheel requires twice the brake pressure of the Thrustmaster. And yeah, it's a bit of an issue there, no doubt about it. So yeah, that is a bit of an issue, but I think it's a great wheel. I mean, Fanatic F1 wheel, fantastic. I mean, most of my streams, all of my streams between December and I guess early March were all with the Fanatic wheel. And then recently I've changed to Thrustmaster to simply, because I'm doing a bit of rally, well, we'll be doing a bit of rally soon, so the Thrustmaster rally rim is, so Thrustmaster's better for rally, I guess, because you've got the rally bits and bobs you can get with it. Yeah, I you know what, either both wheels are great, so Fanatic's fantastic, both wheels are great. I think Fanatic takes more time to set up, and I think if you put your time into it, Fanatic takes more time to set up, but ultimately it's rewarding. Thrustmasters work out the box, which works a lot for me because I test many different racing games all the time, you know, and so they all handle slightly differently. Thrustmaster just works, whereas Fanatic, you're constantly trying, they don't work very well sometimes. You've got to tune the settings to how you want it. Yeah, I like that. It's good. I'm glad I inspired you to do your GT3 and iRacing. That's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, I always like to inspire people to do racing. I love racing. Do you know what frustrates me sometimes is I want to do a better job, and I don't always have the time to practice. You know, when I was younger, I played a lot more. I had a lot more time to practice. You know, these days, I don't really have the time. So I come on here with comparatively little practice. And have to try and learn very quickly, you know, and that's what we're doing here. You know, we've learned a few things. The sad part is, if I do this again tomorrow, I've developed a better strategy now for racing, and I'll probably do quite well, and then it'll be a different car and track on Monday, and I won't be able to run it anymore. But at least I've got it in here, so that if we ever do this again, then it'll be ideal. And it's great to see open wheel racing on Gran Turismo, which has been fantastic. But the step up from a G27 is big. I mean, G27, G25 are old wheels. They chug a lot in terms of the feedback's not very smooth. It's quite juddery. So it's definitely big changes there. Ford is saying with 4K, I prefer frame rate, and quality of image. I would prefer for 1080p 60 with ultimate graphics and everything running perfectly, or checkerboard rendering even. Over 30 frames per second, over 30 frames per second 4K. There is this big push at the moment for resolution, but as esport players and as sim racers and as gamers in general, frame rate is key. Frame rate's everything. So I don't know, games companies are all about how good does it look on an advertisement, and just freeze frame it in photo mode. But to the rest of us, it's about how does it play, and so we want smooth, good performance. But PS5 and Xbox should comfortably be able to run 4K 60 with the graphics at least that we already have today, if not better. Well, they will be better. And look at that was close, wasn't it? My goodness, that was close. But obviously I've not pitted and he has at this stage, so I think I'm just trying to hold on here to Ash, who was ahead of me, and I was modulating my fuel at this point, because I was saying, well, I was driving fuel mode 2 and 3 and just trying to see how close I could keep to him without falling too far away. Frame rate is what we want. It's all about 60 frames. When you play V-Rally 4 on PC at 60 frames and then you play it on console at 30, the difference in experience is huge. It's like playing a different game. When you play Isle of Man TT at 60 on the PC and 30 on console, it's huge. I mean, you have so much more feeling from the PC version just because of that extra frame rate that it gives you. It's a different game. It feels different to play. Yeah, I mean, listen, when it comes to having a wheel, if I was sitting here with a G29, I've got a G29, I've got a G25. If I was sitting here with my G25, I wouldn't be any less competitive for the most part than I am with this wheel or with a Fanatic. I can change this wheel to anything really and still be relatively... I mean, the pedals on the G25 are essentially identical to what you have with Thrustmaster. There's really not much difference there. There's no difference. So you've got the same pedals. It really is just the way the force feedback cuts in, and when you use a wheel a lot, you get attuned to that feedback. Yeah, I'm going to have to run some gaming relations. Just saying there about PS5 with GT Sport, PSVR multiplayer lobbies. Yeah, I mean, all of this should be PSVR compatible on the PS5. There's no doubt about it, because it's going to use the current PSVR headset, so it should be able to run full race lobbies. So I mean, who knows? For me as a streamer, I won't be doing streaming VR lobbies often, because I can't read your comments when I've got the VR headset on. There's no way for me to project that into the headset, and even if I could, I couldn't read them because the resolution isn't good enough yet. So from a streamer's perspective, I'd probably have like no comment runs where I just say, right, can't read a thing. I mean, I am thinking of doing that just with standard VR headset, because there's some of these cars I'd really like to try out in VR, like this one. I mean, I think it'd be much more exciting. It's a shame the sound on this car isn't great. They haven't captured the audio very well on this car. It's not very authentic. That's just one of the things that lets this car down. Oh, there's a bit of lag there, wasn't there? But it's certainly a competitive race. And you think we've come up there. At this point, though, I was modulating the fuel. I knew I had to pit, so I was just trying to do what I could. But I didn't realise I could have been saving a lot more than I did. So I think I just upped the fuel on this final lap because I made some mistakes and thought, oh, you know what, let's just pit now, because the tyres wear quite a bit and all that jazz. So I think I pit here, do I? There I go, into the pit. So that was the pit. I think in hindsight you lose a bit of time just changing the tyres, so I probably didn't need to do that. Probably just gone with a fuel stop and where am I? I'm already 5th, 6th. So it's marginal, isn't it? 5th, 6th. So I would have been 5th if I hadn't have changed the tyres. I would have been 5th if I hadn't have changed the tyres. But either way, would I have kept it? I don't know. Probably would have, actually, because I'd have been a few seconds down the road. I think, bear in mind, we were 18th, weren't we, early on? So, we've come up quite well. But I think if you look at overall lap times, they were 1 second a lap quicker all the way. So we saved, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Save a bit of time, don't you? I mean, you do save a fair bit of time in terms of the lap times. So I wasn't able to keep with Ash and his laps, and that was me on higher fuel, so he's a lot quicker than me around this circuit. I lose a lot of time on this corner here. That's where I'm losing time all the time. Not very good at it. I don't have a line there at the moment in this car, and it's not happening for me. Not with the limited time I have in terms of racing around there. Is that mainly why we don't see you on Codemasters F1? No. I suppose really it's just down to it's a long story where Codemasters are concerned, and it's something that we need to get certain access to the games, and we need certain support from Codemasters, and as a news publication we've not always been given that, so that's been a bit frustrating for us. And the way it works on YouTube is say for example you get access to a game early, everybody watches your channel because they want to see content on that game. When that game's released, you have an audience already established. People want to see that. It's like Gran Turismo. I'm running Gran Turismo. If I suddenly said, right, I'm going to turn off Gran Turismo, I'm going to play Red Out instead, a lot of you watching would switch off because you've tuned in to watch Gran Turismo. There's a handful of you who tuned in to see moi, but not many. So it's all to do with creating a following for a game, and it's when you switch from one to another. Formula One, there are such big established YouTubers that handle Formula One that for me to build a Formula One audience, I mean, I used to have a big Formula One audience, and then a few things happened. We weren't given the access we needed, and we lost our Formula One audience years ago, and I just gave up on it after that. I got quite a lot of abuse from people when I was doing my F1 blogs. Things got to a point where it wasn't fun for me anymore. It was just, I was just coming online and I was getting awful comments, and people think, oh, you're a YouTuber, you should handle it, and you think, oh, well, actually, what are you talking about? I don't get paid for this, I just do it because I enjoy it. I just won't do it anymore then, and that was it. I just stopped doing the F1 blogs because I watch Formula One. I've met all the drivers, I've had access to the pits, had access to the paddocks, and it's been great. And, the times I've been, met everybody, it's been great. Really enjoyed it. I mean, I had a big highlight years ago. One of my biggest highlights when I was given a paddock pass by Bernie for a few days, and that was fantastic. Access all areas. It was stuff of dreams. So it was good. It's just that Formula One's a difficult world to get into when you don't have an agent and the right contacts. It's impossible, in fact. There's a lot. It's all about contacts in Formula One. Let's face it. Everyone you see in it, TV, everything, everyone's connected. And I'm just a guy. I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude doing YouTube at the end of the day. But I've been doing this stuff for a long time, so badgered everybody. yeah, it's been wonderful. Been to rallies, been to Le Mans, Le Mans WEC races, shall I say. I've not been to Le Mans, but I've been to WEC races. Tested a lot of real cars as well. So it's been good. Done driver training, GT Academy, fantastic. That was great. I mean, it's good when you get, you do driver training, because it helped. So when I was talking to you earlier, if some of you guys were listening about throttle control, I learned all that from driver training at GT Academy, and driver training at we did a driver training session at Brooklands, wasn't it? Mercedes World or whatever it is at Brooklands, and there's a lot of ex-racing drivers that test the cars and stuff, and it was really good. I've also done Porsche training school as well. That was good as well, Porsche driving. The Porsche was brilliant because of the amount of power. You're driving 450 brake horsepower cars, a lot of performance. So we were doing launch control starts. If you've ever done launch control, and I'd never done a launch control start, and I never would, but you basically you put the car in gear, and tractor racing. Yes, Jason pointed out, I've done tractor racing, I've done rally car driving, but launch control is interesting. I've never done this, obviously, in a real road. Actually, I'm going to get to that, actually. But you put your foot down on the brake, and then you put your car in first gear, and then you put the accelerator full down, so that the car's revving like crazy, and then you just take your foot off the brake, and the car just goes, basically. And it was crazy. You go to like 100 and whatever we were doing, 170 mile an hour, and then what you do, hit the brakes at that speed all the way down to 0. And I remember like accelerating, and just you're there and you're accelerating, and the pressure changes. Someone said to me, your view kind of changes, and it's almost it changes your eyes. Your eyes actually change shape almost because of the pressure of the car. I'd never experienced anything like it. And then when we hit the brakes, I hit the brakes too hard, and it locks the wheels and turns the hazard lights on. He says to me, "Look, you've turned on your hazards." Test driver says to me. I was like, "Oh, sorry about that." So no, I'm actually joking with you. He said, "It's because it's an automatic system. You lock the wheels. Let's do it again, but this time not lock the wheels." So we did it again and again and again. And I said, after about whatever it was, 4 times of doing it, 5 times, 6 times, I don't know what it was, I said, "You know what? I've had enough. I'm really not feeling very well now." Because it was literally like, when you learn how to drive, you'll do an emergency stop, and you'll be driving in like second gear at like 10 mile an hour or something, and the driving instructor will say, "Right, stop," and you'll go like that. And when you're in a like a super powered sports car, and you suddenly do that, you're like, it's a long drawn out process of sucking your innards forward. So it's you imagine what those racing drivers put up with, the Formula One drivers. I mean, wow, it's amazing, and I love that. Now, Lido was saying, "Have you been to Isle of Man?" I haven't been to Isle of Man. I nearly did last year with the game, and it was quite a nerve-wracking experience, because I agreed to do stage 1 of the Isle of Man on a sidecar. Don't know why I agreed to it, and I was actually quite nervous about that whole experience, because if you know bikers, you know that when you say to a biker, can you go just a bit slower, like just a bit slower, they'll go, "Yeah, mate, I'll go slower, just a bit slower for you," and ain't gonna happen. So they'll tell you to hold on. They'll tell you you're a big lad. They'll say, "Lean over here when I go that way, and lean over there. And do you know the section? Yeah, all right then. So we're going to go down the hill." And I think something like that was, and then it got cancelled last minute. And I have to admit, there was like a wave of relief. There's no way I'm going to sign up. I watched a sidecar lap on the track. I thought, what the hell am I doing? What the hell am I signed up for here? This is not what I want to do with my life. So if you've ever watched sidecars at Isle of Man, Isle of Man is crazy when you see the bikers. But when you see the sidecar guys actually racing, they are the most crazy guys I've ever seen in my life. I mean, literally, there's dudes hanging off the bike, heads practically skimming along the ground while the bike's going down a straight, throwing themselves over the bike. I mean, it's just total confidence in the actual rider steering the bike. It's just crazy. Of all the racing stuff I've seen, it's just crazy. You know what's also funny is the crowds. You know, when you go to Isle of Man, something like that, or rallying, like, I'm a sensible person. I say, if we're on the outside of an apex, that means stand behind a tree. Yeah, because if the car loses it under braking, it's going to hit the tree before it hits you. And it always amazes me when I see people standing really close on the outside of apexes, and you say, do you know, if that guy gets that wrong, right, if he brakes too late, he's going straight into all you people. If he brakes too early and he clips the inside, he's going straight into all you people. It always amazes me of rallying how crazy a lot of fans are, especially abroad in various different places. The fans are great, but at the same time, crazy. And in a way, that's something rally games don't have. I'm always talking about the lack of people on stages in rally games. You know, you always watch a rally game and you think, where's the 10,000 people, you know? Absolutely. The sidecar guys they're called monkeys. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, they are just, I mean, honestly, if you've never seen it, sidecars in Isle of Man TT, watch it, and I don't know where the fun is in that. That's the absolute truth. I don't know where the fun is in surviving, just surviving. So, hi Alan, what do you think expect to the next GT given the hardware specifications filled by Sony? Well, I think that what we can expect of the next GT, I think, is we want a lot more detail in terms of physics. So I think you're going to have full rain physics, full rain and weather transitions. I think you're going to have a lot more ambient temperature data, wind data in there as well, time of day changing, all of that. I think you're going to have a lot more in general physics data, tyre data and AI improvements. So real structural changes in terms of making sure the racing is as real as possible. I think the next thing to really look at is how many cars they can have in a race, whether that's going to grow in any way, whether you're going to have damage on the cars, and you're really trying to think about everything that can make it as real as possible. I think that you've got VR, which we've mentioned earlier, so you're going to have that. So I think, you know, before we say better graphics and better audio, there's no reason why the graphics shouldn't be better and the audio shouldn't be better, but gameplay wise, you really want to look at the detail of what makes a motor race. And I think you're going to see a lot more track evolution in the graphics as well. So you'll see a lot more marbles, rubber build up on the track. I think all that kind of stuff, you know, particle effects, and just generally the feeling of being in the car, feeling a lot more real. I just hope Kazunori wakes up to the cockpit cam changes and other modern aspects that they need to bring into making it more realistic. Just looking here at my times, I've just realised this time here was much quicker, wasn't it? But that time was 19 minutes 23 seconds. It wasn't much slower actually than the others. So that is very interesting, despite the penalty. So that's definitely the way forward, is the no stop for sure. GT4 Rally. Hold on a moment. The sidecar guys don't think anything bad will happen. Maybe they're right. Maybe not, some of them get away with it. You know. GT4 Rally stage. You see, I'm beating with photographers out in the middle of the road. Well, there is one game that had a person running across the track in a rally game, and that's Sega Rally 2 in the arcade. Used to actually have someone physically run across the track in front of you, and you could try and run them over. You never could, but you could get really close to them. And that's the only time in a rally game I've seen. Bear in mind that was released in the 90s. Wouldn't happen today. There's no way WRC would allow people running across the track. I mean, It's just not going to happen in a game, but that's something interesting. There's a nice video of 250C supercar. Yeah, I mean, that's a classic video. It was filmed with a fisheye lens to give it an accentuated speed feeling, but all the same, those guys are absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, yeah, I mean, this was this, it was, yeah, bonkers. Would you want to revisit old school GT type single player? I would love to revisit single player. I think single player is great. I'd love to go through a proper single player mode. There's tons of tracks and cars not in this game, and I'd like to see. The problem is that GT is always going to be a service now in terms of GT Sport, and so if you bought GT7 and it will say online mode, online has to be GT Sport mode. So GT7 would have to be an offline only game. And if you log into online, it would become GT Sport. That's the only way it would sort of work, really. And I think as a service, GT is running much better now because they're upgrading it and updating it all the time, which is great. I mean, this is fantastic. And in theory, this game should just imagine PS5 version was released. PS5 was released today, and you had a version of this running in 4K 60 with improved lighting and textures. Great, it's a good starting point. It's going to look better than any version of GT so far, and then they can just start building on it. So I would love to see a GT7 one-player mode for sure. Be great getting back to that. Finding a car that's really crappy and slow, adding bits to it, and then going really fast and taking that car through the game and building a bond with your car. I think also car owners clubs and stuff like that. It'd be great if you could have some sort of car owners club mode, to bring you together with other owners of the same cars and stuff like that. It'd be great. Not sidecar guys. The people saying it's the side of the track. Yeah, they don't think anything's going to happen to them. You're absolutely right. The problem is there's a lot of people that have no awareness of cars and what can happen. And when you go to rallies, people get so, and Isle of Man is a good example, people get so, they're almost overconfident of where the cars and bikes are going to go, and they just don't think about accidents happening at all. Whereas I do, as a racing fan, motorsport fan. I've been to many races over the years. I've seen, accidents and things happen here, there, and everywhere, and it can happen at any time. And there's a lot of accidents that happen that don't always end up on camera as well. So, it's you've always got to be aware of what you're looking at in terms of the lie of the land. But I prefer to be safe. I prefer to have a tree relatively near me in terms of I can duck behind it if I can see. I'm good at identifying the body language of a car quite quickly as well. So if I can see that guy's going to lose it and he's coming towards me, I know I'm going to stand there. I'm alright about that. Whereas if you're just in the open, well, you're buggered, aren't you, really? There's a fair amount of content now in the single player mode. There is a fair amount of content, but there's still a lot of tracks being held back, and I think that they are holding a lot back for the next GT, because I was expecting at least 10 more circuits to be in the game by now, and I think there's still a lot there. They're holding back. All the classic tracks are being held back. There's other real race tracks. They're drip feeding it. I think GT, I kind of feel like the rally thing's a waste of time in Gran Turismo. What's the point in rally in Gran Turismo? It's not got a proper mode. There's no substance to it. Maybe one day we'll see a Gran Turismo rally extension. That would be interesting. But yeah, this is interesting in terms of time. So this was a 19 minutes 11, this particular race. So it shows that, and I was a 19:23 in the last race. That was despite the penalties and the other problems. So it's very close between the two strategies in the end. It turned out much closer than I expected. Well, hopefully GT7 and most likely GT8 will have the content from GT6. Yeah, we'll wait and see. I think it'd be great to see a proper Gran Turismo game with the whole package, and if they do launch it on the new PlayStation, that'll be brilliant. Lido says, what scares me most from close to a track? Yeah, I mean, there's a video of one guy, I don't know if you've seen it, where he's like lying down as the bikes go past, and literally the bikes are like that far from him, going past him at 200 mile an hour, and you just think, if that bike hits you, you're dead and he's dead. The cyclist is dead as well at those speeds. And it's amazing how dumb some people can be in terms of situations like that. It's not until you see an accident like that, how horrible it is, that you just realise how stupid it is, some of it. It's like marshals, marshals at race events. I'm always somebody who feels quite protective of marshals. I don't like seeing marshals put in harm's way at a race event. If there's marshals on track or vehicles on track, I'm always like, that race should be, virtual safety car straight away. There shouldn't be a marshal on track under just yellows a lot of the time, because it's just too dangerous. If someone spins off, marshal's dead. Was it worth it just to have a yellow, just to stop a safety car or a virtual safety car sometimes? No, someone's life is never worth that. So I think I'm always keen on safety of the drivers and the riders and the marshals at these circuits. Is a risk. You just don't need unnecessary risk. Yeah, Rob, I think there are lots of good circuits I'd like to see added. I know they're talking about Goodwood coming. I think it's a shame we don't have Spa. I've discussed that on the podcast, actually. I think maybe this week that's coming up. And yeah, I've left all that. That's all in the podcast, my feelings on Spa. I can't work out if I'm in favour. I actually feel that if they release, I think GT7 as a one-player mode needs to be released as a game in its own right. So offline one-player, that's a game in its own right. But there's no point having online race modes on GT7 that are separate to GT Sport, because all you're going to do is split the player base, and then you can have there's not going to be enough people playing GT Sport, because half of them will be playing GT7. So they need to find a way to sell the one-player game as a one-player game if you want that, and then if you want to play online, then you're going to need GT Sport. It's the only way to do it. At the same time, I like GT as a service, so I think if they just said, right, Gran Turismo World or something, they relaunch it as Gran Turismo World or something, and then that's it, that's the full game, the one-player experience, sport, everything in one gigantic package that's then run as a service. No GT Sport 8, 9, 10, that's it then. It's just GT Sport World moving forward, and then that's it for the next 10 years, because it means they can add tracks, they can upgrade the game, they can do everything, they can add cars as one service. It works so much better as a service package, GT, than as a release once every 5 years, because you're going to get a copy and then you're going to wait 5 years, and whereas now, because they can add tracks so easily in cars, just no need to wait 5 years for a new one. A track editor, yeah, I mean, a track editor is not essential, but it would be nice to see it. I'm only keen on a track editor when it works well, when you can create real dynamics to a circuit, different pieces, and make a circuit look real or feel real, whereas traditionally they've always looked a bit, colour palette's never been as good, they've never looked as subtle, it's difficult to give that circuit a life in that way. You can create a great layout, but it just doesn't feel as good as a proper circuit. So I think if they have the tools in there, and let's hope they have the tools in there, Tony, in terms of doing that, because I think if they do, then again you've got never-ending developments. But at the same time, there's a part of me that says, would they want to do that initially because they want you to buy their tracks? So there's that as well. I mean, not that they charge for the tracks, but so on. So it's been an interesting stream tonight. Nice little bit of chat. I'm going to be watching the race tomorrow. Hopefully someone will take it to, I think obviously you're going to see Charles Leclerc coming up from wherever he is. Good qualifying by Lando today. Yeah, we don't talk about it in the chat, but I hope you've enjoyed Avengers. Looking forward to, I've seen Avengers, I enjoyed that. So, oh, look at that, straight into the back of me, he went pushing me off. Boom, and look at that, that's where I lost a lot of time. Look at that, so I would have been in a good position had that not happened to me. Down to 9th. I've not had much luck in these races, have I? 5th down to 9th. Brilliant. Wow. Interesting. Real world mapping would be, but it depends what you're mapping. You know, if you're mapping undulation of a surface, that's something. But it depends how, it depends how it's going to work. It's complicated in terms of getting something like that working, because you have to build sections, and there has to be available sections in the way they work and the way the lighting system works, and it's complicated. I mean, building a track editor that's really good is complex. You need a lot of types of curbs. I'll tell you what had a good track editor in it recently was Monster Energy Supercross 2. Well, I'm going to say good night, everybody, now, actually, because I'm going to go to bed myself now, or at least have a cup of tea and then chill out and go to bed. But listen, that's it for now, viewers. It's like practically 1 a.m. My goodness. I hope you've enjoyed the racing this evening. It's been some reasonably fun results, even if it hasn't all worked out for me. But maybe I'll pop on tomorrow, have a quick go at a race then as well. But do I live stream F1 and chat? Or is silent F1 watcher? I'm probably a silent F1 watcher at the moment. I was just going to say that I was considering doing live streams during a Grand Prix, so that I could actually just a talk chat stream. But I don't know if that would be very popular. So, I mean, because then you'll hear me sort of going in a lot more in detail in terms of what's actually happening, and probably a very different perspective to a lot of other people when it comes to Formula One, having seen ins and outs of Formula One. I've got a very different perspective on it, but I'm tired now. I must go to bed. Thanks for everything tonight. Thanks for the donations as well from Gaming Legends and Matt. Really appreciate that tonight. It supports what we do. Do like and subscribe, and there'll be more from me very soon. But that's it from me for now. Bye bye.